the enemy. And we'd radio them, tell them which way they're moving. And a lot of times we'd drop a dummy drop. We'd let it come out with parachute so they'd see it. They go to it thinking it's grenades and stuff like that. This is speed garbage. And then we'd fly to another location. We'd come down about 60 feet off the ground. We'd be going straight with the back end open. And it'd be a big cable we'd shoot out. And the Army had a big cable across the ground. We'd shoot it out. And the minute that hooked onto that cable, green light come on. I'd just push a button and that tank would just, it'd be in a crate. It'd just slide out, hit the ground, scoop, but that cable that's hooked on wouldn't let it roll.
Yeah.
And they had all these boards wrapped all around it. You can't even see the car. It's all covered with these boards. Man on the ground had a code book, and we code down to him. We changed that book every week, but we code down to him and give him a code, like code 49CX. And he would take that code and look in his book, and it would tell him a certain board on that case. He goes and knocks that board off, the rest of that board just falls like dominoes. But if you try to get into that without knowing which board's knocked off, you might be there 3 hours trying to get into it.
Oh, my.
And so it's very important. Very important.
Popcorn crackjack. There's a lake down there. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
We're closer to Dallas than I thought we were. That wouldn't be, if we start losing altitude, I don't know what it is.
On the Oklahoma border?
Well, we could be in Texas now. That could be Mesquite, couldn't it?
No, we're not far from
We're
that.
not that far yet?
No. I don't think.
How long were you in the services?
7 years. I got out. I got early out because our troops, we were in the one world. We become warmongers. All we want to do is fly, get the equipment there, pick up the wounded, take them to Hawaii. And sometimes our plane would be hit with red eyes. It's a little grenade or a little rocket.
Yeah.
We'd have to emergency land, and then we'd be grounded for about a month. Then we'd have to go out with the Army and go into combat. And the Air Force at that time did not train us to be combat soldiers. But we learned real quick. After the first shot, the old sergeant would say, "Now, fellas, we got to fight this battle by the book. You keep that in mind." He said that after the first shell was fired, throw the book away and survive.
Oh, wow. So were you treated bad when you got back? Because of the way, were you treated bad when you got back? Because of the way they say they treated
Yeah.
you?
What made me feel so bad, they brought us to Trenton, New Jersey, Fort Dix. And when we come in, we had about 40 Green Berets, several Special Air Force units, and some Army. When we pulled up to the gate, there was about 400 hippies. They knew was coming in, and they were out there calling us warmongers, murderers, and the Green Berets, they told captains that we only need about 4 of us. Let 4 of us get off and we'll get them out of here. They'd kill them. I didn't feel bad about the war. I felt bad about coming back to the United States and colleges protesting
Yeah.
and calling us. You know, when I got off the plane and got in the barracks, they said, y'all change into cities, plain clothes, and you can go to town, but you cannot go to town with uniform on because they'd recognize the ribbons that we were Vietnam, and they would harass us. And I thought, it's not fair. We go over there for 3 years, come back, and now we have to face this. It just wasn't right.
I know.
And but we got over it. We have ways of, if you ever get around someone, they'll say, I fought in Vietnam. The best thing you can say is, welcome home.
Right.
That's all you can say.
I know.
And have you been to Washington the last 2 or 3 years? In Washington, you got probably 400 soldiers. Got little tents up selling Vietnam souvenirs. Legs gone, arms gone, and they're still sitting there in their uniform because they're messed up here. And I go up there visit my son. I'll go over there and sit with those guys for 4 or 5 hours. We just talk. And all you do is just listen to them. They relive it, relive it, relive it.
Wow.
And now they're trying to get people to donate money to help our Iraqi soldiers and Afghanistan soldiers. As much tax as we pay, why can't our federal government, they made them go, why don't they take care of this with the taxes?
I know.
I just don't understand it.
I don't either.
One of the
My brother-in-law, same way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Out in Fort Carson, Colorado. That's right out of Colorado Springs. Right at the foot of the hill of Pikes Peak. They've got about 800 Iraqi and Afghanistan soldiers out there, rehabilitated. Finest place I've ever been in my life. And they're placing blades on their legs, where their legs have been blowed off, and they're teaching them how to run. I can't outrun. If I tried, I couldn't. And they're rehabilitating their minds, and
That is wonderful.
see, the hardest thing a lot of people don't know is this. They're married, they got a couple kids. They go to Iraq or Afghanistan. They're gone for a couple of years. The money comes to the family, supports the family. But the wife has become daddy and mommy to the family. So when he comes home, he's looking so forward to being with the family, getting everything lined up and everything. And there's nothing to line up. The wife, the mother, has already got everything in a habit form, procedure. And when he comes home, he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
He don't have no responsibility.
I tell you, when I lived near Fort Hood, and you'll be going down the highway, and these guys that come back, they'll get these ninja bikes. They're adrenaline junkies. You have to be over in Iraq, but they'll come and they're reckless. They'll come that far off your bunker, going like 100 miles an hour. Down the freeway. It's scary. It really is.
over at Norfolk, Virginia, a big naval base. 4 months before those Navy men comes in, their wives, family are waiting on them. Doctors and chaplains, counselors, they are on a helicopter and they fly them out to that ship. And for 4 months they're rehabilitating these Navy men to understand what's going on. The family's changed, the wife has taken on more responsibility and everything. You live back, take it easy until you work your way back into the family. He'll feel like he's a stranger when he's on the family. So up here that works on it. And a lot of people don't realize when these soldiers come back, they go through about a year of really, yeah, they're a reject.
Yeah. Sometimes it never leaves them. I mean,
They never leave them.
How many times were you deployed in Vietnam?
What years?
How many? How many times?
2 times.
3 times. These guys were deployed 5, 6 times. You know, they
Yeah.
come home for a month, and then their units recalled. That's just too much.
Anything else?
My first time was 6 months, and the second time we weren't supposed to land. We come down 30 feet off the ground, we unloaded, dropped it, and we flew off to Saigon to pick up wounded from the hospitals there to take back to Hawaii. And as we made our turn, I was sitting up in the cockpit with the captain, just sitting there talking to him. I was a sergeant of the plane. And almost the plane just almost turned over. We were hit with a ground air missile, and it went through in the back, almost got that wing back there. If we'd have got it, we'd have lost it. And so we had to make a fast decision, and the captain wanted us to jump. He said, I'm going to open it up, the door on the side, and you got go ahead and jump. You'll go down among the friendlies, and you'll be taken care of. We all had our chutes on, ready to jump. And I had never jumped in my life. And ready to go. But we decided, we all come here as a team. We go down as a team, or we go home as a team. So we told the captain, said, do your best to get it, or we're not coming. We're going with you. You're our man. He said, boys, I don't think I'm going to make it. It was smoking and we was having a hard time. It was up and down. And believe it or not, as an F-16 come up beside of us, they ready to go back and forth. And he told him that the rear right wing assembly was intact, and the strut, which is that up and down, makes you turn the plane. He said it's damaged pretty bad, and to turn it and try to get it over, in order to get it to make us turn, you couldn't just turn, you had to lay over. But the atmospheric pressure pushed us over so far, and then we leveled up. We landed, and it was a hard landing, but as soon as we landed, we was there about 3 days, and here come a big Army convoy in and picked us up and said, you got to go out with us. This plane's down for about 2 months. So I was out in the combat zone for 2 months. And you don't have to go to boot camp to learn to be a combat soldier. Just get shot at one time and you're ready. So I come home, I was nervous. I had some flashbacks. I don't have any more, but used to, I'd be laying in bed sleep and a helicopter fly over. Oh, I'd go to my apes. I'd be crawling over the house, under the bed, trying to get away from it. But then when I woke up, I realized, hey, and I'd laugh about it. You know, I'd say, what did I do this time? My wife said, well, you made sure you was covered. But, even now, if our government called me at my age now and said, we need you, I'd go back. I love my country, and I'll die for it. And I do it without any thought. My wife knows that too. She said, well, I'm glad you're at this age now. You're not getting called back. But I would. And you probably would too.
Yeah, but every veteran I ever known that feels pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the best country in the world. I just wish that the federal government would leave the states alone and let the common businessman work out his own problems. Federal, step back and let us do it. And you know what? We'd have a lot more employment. We sure would. Now, once you go into combat, anytime there's a movie comes on, the Navy SEALs or Special Forces, Delta Forces, hey, we stop everything and we're watching that.
Yeah.
Although it's a movie, but,
Yeah.
but it's interesting.
Yeah. You guys are so brave.
We're starting to come down, I believe.
Yeah. We're about 100 miles out of there.
Yeah.
That lake back there was probably one of those East Texas lakes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to make a career in the Air Force, but once our unit did all of its work in Nam, called Silk Purse, they said, we've got enough stuff here now, we don't need no more. What we have we can do, so we're going to start cutting back.
Yeah.
And so I waited about 4 months to see what I was going to be doing, and they were going to put me in an office as an administrator. And I said, I'm an outside man. I don't want inside. And they said, well, you've got to go in. We're going to send me to Rhein-Main, Germany. And they said, it's good days, and you'll like it up there. Well, I went up there, and just sitting in an office 8 hours a day, doing book work, it's just not my portfolio. I'm an outdoorsman. And then later they said, we're going to rebuild another unit and you're on standby to be called up. Well, they never did build it. So my time was up, and I asked them whether they could let me cross-train into the outside, the engineer, surveyor, whatever. They said, right now the time in is bad. They wanted me to stay in that office. I just went ahead and signed my papers to go ahead and get out. And, now, if I knew then what I know now, I'd stayed in. I'd have went ahead and waited for an opportunity to cross-train into something else. I could have got it, but I didn't want to wait any longer. I was impatient.
Well, it's really going to get ugly if they let the sequestration go through.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
They say the TSA lines are going to like triple.
Is that right?
Yeah. Cut back on every, it's across the board. Everybody gets cut.
Yeah.
So,
my son-in-law just retired from the Air Force as a civil engineer. And then the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, he's been out almost a year, and they they called him, wanted to know if he would re-up for another 2-year term for engineering. And what his engineering work was, going into foreign countries, and in 72 hours, have a runway built to land those big planes. And he said, "Can you give me the privilege of knowing where I'm looking out for it?" He said, Saudi Arabia or Egypt or Iran. And he said, "No, I'm going to stay home." Was smart. I'd have stayed home too. They've got some kind of a chemical. They'll plow up this big field and get it perfectly level. And they'll spray all of this chemical in it about this deep, mix it with the dirt. Then they'll come by and level that and get it all level and put big rollers on it and roll that down. Within 72 hours, there'll be bombers coming in and landing on it. It'll be that hard. And I said, "Well, how long does that stay like that?" He said, "About 8 months. But by that time, we've already got another runway ready for them just over on the side of it. And that one will crumble up. We go over and plow it all up and get it ready for another airstrip."
Yeah.
He said, "You can land these planes on it. And be landed on dirt, but it's like concrete."